What's up, college football addiction? Let's talk a little bit about this Colorado game. They get a big win in what might be their toughest game left of the season. They get a big win outside of this game that we'll talk about in just a moment. Tomorrow morning on this channel, we will break down the path to the Big 12 championship, not only for Colorado, but for all of the Big 12 teams that are still in it. So make sure that you're subscribed and you don't miss that. Of course, Colorado's path got a lot easier today, but make sure you're subscribed here with us because you don't want to miss that one. I haven't done it fully because I do want all the Big 12 results to come in. Putting this out, obviously, here at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We've got a couple hours to go before BYU and Utah kicks off in the Holy War. And so want all the games to be done before we start to go through and break things down. I think BYU wins there, but maybe we'll end up being wrong there and we'll have even more chaos go down. But for Colorado in this game, a game that you had to win. Couldn't lose this one after you got some help earlier in the day. Iowa State, well, they kicked off a little bit earlier, but Iowa State went down and they were trailing for almost all of that game. They had a pretty good idea that Kansas was going to win that. Kansas game probably looks a little tougher now than it did just before, but you got some help in that one, and you knew that if you could just win your game, if you could take care of business, you'd control your own destiny, right? There's the spoiler alert for tomorrow. I don't have to wait to tell you that. However, this did not start very good for Colorado. Let's jump into that. A slow start. In fact, you punt to start the game. And man, you're thinking like, man, is the offense ever going to get going? Which you kind of knew they would, but you kind of thought like, man, is it going to take them too long to get going like it did in the Nebraska game? The Nebraska game didn't get going for the whole first half. You were down so much and you turned the ball over and giving up short fields, this, that, and the other, that you couldn't get back into it. And that was my fear, and probably most Colorado fans' fear in this one. Can they get it going? Because if not, this one looks like it could be pretty dangerous for the Buffs. Texas Tech's offense is pretty good. They ended up being pretty good on the day until Colorado's defense locked in. But a big credit to Colorado's defense. That's where you have to start. Now, you did give up the one touchdown early, gave up a couple of field goals too, but they certainly bent but didn't break, right? And to have Texas Tech score on 3 straight possessions, and you look up and you say, okay, they've scored 3 times in a row. We're only down 13. If you're a Colorado Buffaloes fan, if you're that team, if you're the staff, whatever, you got to feel pretty good about that, right? You don't feel good about the way you're playing. Your offense has gone 3 and out. Well, I guess the first time you didn't go 3 and out, but your offense has had to punt 4 straight times. And so you're thinking, man, at least we're only down 13. Like, it could be a lot worse than this. And finally, Colorado on kind of a short field gets a touchdown. They make it 13-7. And you're immediately thinking, okay, here we go. Lock in. Let's go. Defense continued to step up. You were down 13-0, and Colorado went on a 34-7 run. I'll repeat that, a 34-7 run. When you look at the drives, right, you had punt, and then you had 5 straight scoring drives. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. 5 straight scoring drives, then another punt, another field goal to go up 2 scores. There at the end, you had to punt a couple of times, but at that point, I think you were really just running clock out. Of course, you'd like them to keep scoring, but you wanted to run the clock out, and that obviously ended up being your best friend at the end. You were able to salt this thing away if you're Colorado. But you knew the offense would get going eventually, and when they got going, they got going. Shedeur ended up being really good, ended up doing everything you needed him to do for you to win this game. The running game, you were able to lean on a little bit. Travis Hunter, again, really good when he wasn't necessarily having his best day early. Still showed up in massive ways. Big 3rd down conversions. Obviously, the screen for a touchdown. You look at Cam Ward losing earlier in the day. Dylan Gabriel playing right now. Really can't give you too much of an update on that one. I'm sure he'll run it up against Maryland, although Maryland did score first, and that was 3-0 at one point. But I do think that Oregon ends up running away there. Hunter, did he maybe take a step closer to that Heisman today? He did have the touchdown. Oh, man. The prettiest interception, not really the prettiest interception because all of his interceptions are just superhuman plays that are just ridiculous to even see. But just a gorgeous interception taken away on an offsides penalty. Maybe the quarterback doesn't throw that up and just take a chance if not for the offsides, but I don't know, man. That one stunk to have that taken away because that felt like, okay, there's a Heisman type moment. I thought his touchdown, though, the screen pass, Obviously had Wester out there blocking. Shador hits Hunter on the side. He walks into the end zone. You had the reverse of it. The things that don't show up in the box score, Hunter had blocked like crazy on the Wester screen pass touchdown. That blocking doesn't show up in Travis's Heisman highlights when he gets to New York, right? But that's the kind of play you make and kind of goes unnoticed, but we certainly noticed it. Wester, a good day touchdown. Will Shepard's touchdown was such a pretty catch. I honestly thought that was probably going to be defensive pass interference. Probably should have been called, didn't really matter, and I don't have a big problem with them not throwing it since the ball was clearly caught. I thought he was being interfered with, but man, such a pretty catch back there in the back of the end zone. And by the time that Colorado got up 2 scores, you kind of thought like that fake punt by Texas Tech was just really weird. But when they went up 2 scores, you kind of thought, man, this is going to be really tough for Texas Tech to come back. And obviously they weren't able to do that. Big 4th down stop on the 1 yard line was big. That lets you chew off another minute or two. And Colorado's defense was, to me, the story of the game again. Early in the game, your defense kept you in it by holding them to some field goals. Defense wasn't perfect by any means, but did keep you in it if you're Colorado, which was a big deal. 5 sacks in the game, including the biggest one being the one that you knock the ball out of the quarterback's hands and Shiloh picks that thing up, and everybody kind of thinks it's an incomplete pass. He picks the thing up and just walks 3 or 4 yards into the end zone to seal it, to ice the thing, to put you up 41-27. Huge team effort. I will say this, on that 4th and 1 stop, obviously the taunting penalty would have made it 4th and 8. If not for that taunting penalty, you may take over a little closer, not right in your own end zone, basically, after the 4th down stop, which could have been huge when you consider the fact that you might have been able to run the clock a little bit more there because you've had a little bit more of the playbook. I don't know. Those are the things that have to get cleaned up. Obviously, the game was super chippy. It was great to see the respect between the 2 coaches, between Coach Prime and the Texas Tech coach. Great friends. I mean, the broadcast continued to hammer that point home. Loved seeing their interactions, even when the game got a little bit chippy. Really fun to see that before the touchdown by Shiloh, the fumble return touchdown. Just an insanely good punt. Texas Tech would have had to go 90 yards there, and obviously they only had 2 plays there before the fumble, but would have had to go a long way, and obviously they weren't able to get that done, right? And so even if the fumble had not happened, hard to think that they would have driven 90 yards and with just over a minute to go. And so really all 3 phases of the team working together, special teams, offense, defense, really playing really well. Colorado now in control of their own destiny, can do what they need to do in their last 3 games, and it's not going to be easy. Don't think for a second that it's going to be easy. But Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State, they're going to be favorites in all 3 games. I think they control their own destiny to go to the Big 12 championship and the playoff. Not going to be easy at all. But I will tell you, this was a very tough test. We talked with John Kurtz about this beforehand. A very tough place to go and play. Texas Tech was certainly hyped up and into this game and ready to play it. And Colorado came out, and even with the slow start, did what they needed to do to go out and get the win. I thought Shador at times held on to the ball too long. I think one thing that Shador needs to clean up and certainly maybe work on here toward the later part of the year is he kind of does that Cam Ward thing where he extends the play, and what ends up happening? Well, he ends up getting, those offensive linemen just can't block for like 15 seconds, right? The offensive line is way improved, but they can't block for, 5, 10, 15 seconds, and they end up picking up holding penalties. They're trying to save their quarterback's neck, all those things. Sometimes, man, you just got to take off running the ball. I know he doesn't always want to run it. I know he did have the rushing touchdown, but I do think that that's something that he's got to work on. He has that ability to extend plays, but typically I thought when he did that tonight, the offensive line picked up too many holding calls, and that's something they need to kind of shore up. They didn't play their best game tonight by any stretch of the imagination, and they still put up 41 points. Obviously, the last touchdown kind of a gift, but even with that, they scored, 34 points, not playing their best game. I thought Texas Tech went out and laid it all on the line. The fake punt, again, was really weird. If that works, you might be looking at a different kind of outcome, right? I think Texas Tech knew they had to kind of steal a possession here or there, and they went out and tried to do it. They weren't able to, but, fun game. Another Big 12 classic. The Big 12 has been so much fun this year, and, there's chaos coming. This thing is not over by any means. BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado, all still alive in it, but BYU, Colorado can certainly kind of control their own destiny and do what they need to do to try and get into that Big 12 championship, and the winner of that certainly going to the playoff. Is there enough there for Colorado to maybe sneak in without winning the Big 12? I don't know. I don't think so now, because if they don't win the Big 12, they're going to have their third loss, but the path is there. You win your next 3 games, you go play BYU, see what happens there. And, man, you talk about a Coach Prime team in the playoff would be pretty ridiculous. I think Hunter probably took another step toward the Heisman. I didn't think he had an amazing game by any means. He was still really good. The touchdown helps, but by virtue of the Cam Ward loss, he probably moves into the Heisman favorite odds. We'll talk about that tomorrow on our Big 12 breakdown. So again, we'll break that down specifically. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Listen, Colorado fans, Texas Tech fans, Big 12 fans that may be watching this, make sure that you're subscribed. We'll continue to break down all the Big 12, but a fun game there in Lubbock, Texas. A fun one for Texas Tech and Colorado. Colorado comes out on top, 41-27. They covered the spread. They did it relatively easily. Wasn't very easy to start the game, but, man, it was really good late. And Colorado, again, 5 straight scoring drives, 6 in 7. That'll win you a lot of games if you can kind of convert and continue to do that. So a fun one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Quick recap, quick thoughts on Colorado beating Texas Tech. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to College Football Addiction.